With the Roxborough Jaycees. I'm currently the chairman of the board. I'm the past president. Tonight, leading us in moderation tonight will be Miss Allison Thomas. She will be our moderator for this evening. First, I want to say thank you to the Honorable Madam Barker for allowing us to use the courtroom. Also, thank you to Lieutenant Dennis Allen and Person County Sheriff's Office for allowing us to use this wonderful courtroom to have the Jaycees Forum here tonight. We're also thankful to all the candidates and their families for supporting them and coming out, and for everyone else that came to see this forum tonight. So without further ado, because we got a lot to hear from and we're happy to hear from them, we're going to have our prayer from Mr. Jason Thomas. But before we get to that, I did want to let everyone know that this will be live on Channel 10. Not live, but it'll be pre-recorded and reproduced at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, so you can see how well you did and everyone else can get to hear about you too. So we're happy you joined us here tonight, and we'll get started with our prayer. Jason?
Let us pray. Our kind and dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight thanking you for all the blessings in life. We want to thank you for each one that came in here tonight, and we thank you for them answering the call of leadership. Dear Lord, I want to ask you just to be with each person as they get up and speak. Be with them as they go through this campaign, and be with them in the days to come. Forgive us of our sins. Be with those that are down east, God. We can't imagine what they're going through, and we just ask you just to put your healing hand over that down east. Forgive us of our sins. Go with us, lead us, guide us, and save us. In your heavenly name I do pray. Amen.
Good evening. I am Allison Thomas. I am the current president of the Roxborough Jaycees. I will be leading you tonight in this forum. We will go through kind of in order from national offices down to our local offices. As just detailed in the email that I sent you guys, you will have a time period to give a stump speech. For our state offices, we're going to allow you up to 4 minutes. Leslie Wilson is in the back. She will raise a card when you have 30 seconds remaining. And then again, when it's time, I will not cut you off in the middle of your sentence, but when you see time, if you can finish your thought so that we can move on. The state offices will have time for your stump speech. I know that a couple of you have other forums that you need to attend, so feel free to exit quietly if you need to. Then when we get to the county commissioners, I will have each of you come to the front pew. I guess we can call it a pew. And if you will go to the podium when I call your name, you will have also up to 4 minutes for your stump speech. When we get to the question and answer section for the judges and school board, I will have each of you come to the podium, give your stump speech, and then sit down on the front row, and we will go through the questions one by one. So the first question will be answered by each candidate, and then we will move on to the next. So if you will stay at the front just so there's not a lot of moving and interference in front of the camera, that would be great. So, and before we start, I do want to thank the Jaycees who are in attendance here tonight. They are seated here in the front and in the back. Just a little bit about what we do as an organization. We are a community service organization open to any Person County resident or anybody who works here in Person County, ages 21 to 40. We do a lot of community service projects here in the county. And I told somebody a couple weeks ago when we were getting ready for the Distinguished Young Woman program, they called me the leader of this organization, and that is not true. This is an organization full of leaders, and I am only a representative of them. So these people are out in the community doing great things, and they like yourselves, really want to make this community a better place. So thank you for being here tonight. And we will get started. We will start with the candidates for the North Carolina Senate. So Mr. Mike Woodard, if you would like to start us off, he is the Democratic incumbent.
Good evening. Many of us remember from our North Carolina history classes the state toast, which declares North Carolina is where the weak grow strong and the strong grow great. As your state senator for the past 4 years, I've worked hard to make sure that that aspiration becomes a reality for the people of Person County, the 22nd District, and our state. I've worked to provide greater economic opportunities, like effective policies for small towns and counties, taking the lead on developing the Dan River water intake, and ensuring $7 million in funding for the North Carolina Biotech Center. I worked in a bipartisan manner to author the 2015 Farm Bill and legislation for effective timber farming. I fought hard for a strong education system that serves our children and respects our teachers. And as a former community college instructor, I helped expand funding for our community colleges. I've been a thought leader in healthcare policy, developing policies to increase holistic care in our rural counties, assisting the Downs syndrome community in providing critical information to families and physicians, protecting funding for senior health programs, and expanding mental health services. And my work for clean air and water, renewable energy, and infrastructure enhancements has been recognized and even honored by a number of both business and environmental groups. In the upcoming November 8th election, vote for strong, effective, thoughtful, and experienced leadership. I respectfully ask for your vote for re-election to the State Senate so that together we can continue working to make North Carolina an even stronger and greater state.
Thank you, Mike. And now we will welcome the Republican candidate, Mr. Greg Doucette.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I am T. Greg Doucette, your Republican candidate for State Senate. I'm an attorney down in Durham, so I'm probably one of the few people in the room tonight that have come to this courthouse voluntarily. And I'm also a fan of the state toast, don't get me wrong, but I'm partial to the state motto, esse quam videri, to be rather than to seem. The reason why I am running for office is that we have a lot of politicians down in Raleigh that focus on being politicians. They like coming to parties, they like having the chance to speak to you. They're not really legislators, which is what you're actually electing them to do, and that is why I decided to run for office. You see, we need more adults in the General Assembly. Folks, I'm not your typical Republican, I'm not even your typical candidate. I came from a home where domestic violence was common. My stepfather, he's an alcoholic, had an anger management issue. And because of what I dealt with growing up, I spent half my life with my parents and half of it with my grandparents. I came to North Carolina to go to NC State University, partly because I loved it, loved NC State, but partly to get away from my family. Folks, after 2 years, I couldn't afford to continue. I learned how well-meaning government policies can sometimes let folks slip through the cracks, because those of you that are younger folks volunteering with Jay's campaign, you know you can't get financial aid without having your parents' tax information. Well, my parents wouldn't give me that because I left. I couldn't use my grandparents because they never adopted me. Couldn't use my own because under Department of Education policy, you're not considered an independent until you're 24 or married or a veteran or legally emancipated. So the fact is, from June until September of 2000, I dropped out of college and I was homeless. And I was a college dropout for 5 years. It took me until 2005 to come back. I finally graduated with my bachelor's degree in 2009, and I decided that I wanted to go to law school. I wanted to make it so that I could help other young people succeed in life. Make it so that if they were having trouble finding a job, we could instead help them start a business, so that way they would never have to worry about being fired. Ensuring that young folks who made an occasional dumb decision in high school didn't have their future wrecked, because we are the only state in the entire country that prosecutes all 16 and 17-year-olds as adults no matter what. And I decided 4 years after I finished law school, running my practice, to run for the General Assembly, because you need people in office that understand what it's like to actually be poor, to actually work with people that are impoverished, to actually know when you're at the General Assembly, it's more than just going to parties and raising money. It's actually about being a legislator. to be rather than to seem. So folks, I'm running because we need to rebuild our economy, we need to restore our school systems, and by God, we need to reform our courts. So I ask for your vote, but before then, I ask that you please Google me. Go to votetgreg.com, that's my website. Again, vote, the letter T, that's my first initial, greg.com. Look me up on Facebook or on Twitter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Doucette. We will now move along to the North Carolina House race, and we will start with the incumbent Republican Larry Yarborough.
Good evening. Hope everybody's having a good evening tonight. We were at a similar forum a few days ago, and at that time I talked about my qualifications and why I found myself able to do a pretty good job in my first term. Tonight I'd like to talk a little bit about what I'd like to do with the second term. Here in rural North Carolina, we are faced with a unique set of issues. And they're not different from the rest of the state. But one of the biggest things that we face is we're not part of the Carolina comeback. North Carolina's got one of the best performing economies in the nation, thanks to a lot of reforms that have been going on. And we've grown. We've had the highest wage increase in the nation. But that's not happening here in Person County. So what I'd really like to do is I want to work on helping our small businesses and possibly attracting some larger industries. But one of the biggest issues I see out there is the complex regulations. Having built a business and built some buildings, I know that it's a complex group of regulations that you have to match. When you go to Ask DOT for the permits to get your roads right, and you go to Diener to get your erosion control right, and then you have to work on your water and your sewer to get all those permits. So one of the things that I've been working on and want to continue to work on is streamlining these regulations to make it easier on our businesses. Another thing that is particular to us is rural health care. And that is an area that I'm familiar with, having started and been working in Person County healthcare business for 20 years now. We need to continue to find ways to help the people here in our community, a big part of which is the mental health issue. And one of the things we started working on is creating mental health beds in our rural hospitals. There's a real opportunity there. You know, everybody talks about Medicaid expansion. Nobody wants Medicaid expansion. But there are areas where we can expand Medicaid and not be giving away health care to perfectly healthy people at the expense of the ones that work. In any case, that's a brief view of what I'd like to do, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Representative Yarborough. Is there anybody on the state level that I have missed tonight? Okay. We will now move on to our local races. We will start with our county commissioners. Since the county commissioners will not be taking part in a question and answer session, we will give you up to 4 minutes for your stump speech. Just a reminder that Leslie will raise the card in the back when you have 30 seconds left and then when your time is up. So we will start the county commissioner stump speeches with the Republican incumbent, Mr. David Newell.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Jaycees for putting on this forum tonight. That's something that's very beneficial to not only this audience, but the ones on TV too. My name is David Newell. It's been my pleasure to serve this county as commissioner for the last 4 years. During those 4 years, I have tried to use my experience in the business world to try to install some ideas in county government that everybody doesn't agree with, but everybody in this room knows that at the end of the day, it all goes back to the checkbook. So if you can control the checkbook and the expenses of where it goes, where it comes from, it's very valuable information. some of the things that I would like to emphasize going forward if I'm reelected. We as a county have to make something happen on an economic development standpoint. That's something that we've been trying to do for quite a while. Seems like we just keep beating our head against the wall. As commissioners, we try, but as citizens or as commissioner, I would like to recruit the citizens to help us, because this is something that the whole community needs. This is not something that just the commissioners need for a headline. This is something we got to make happen. We've got a lot of resources to offer in this county. We have abundant power source, electricity. We are in the process of putting together the capability to get 20 million gallons of water per day out of the Dan River. That's one of my high priorities, and I think really is the future of this county, because going forward, fresh water is going to be a goal. And if you can secure a source, you've got something a lot of places don't have. And so, we also have a good, safe community. This is something that everybody can't brag about. But I think Sheriff Jones and the city police have done an outstanding job to keep this a good community to live in. We also have a good school system. Now, as commissioners, we raised our allotment to school teachers a couple of years ago. That is very important, because we as a community have to keep our schools at least competitive with Durham, Chapel Hill, Raleigh, because we have a lot of people that work in Durham but live here, and they send their people to school here, and so that's something that's got to be guaranteed. That's not something we need to take for granted. Now, we'll commend the school system. I think they are a lot better school system than they get credit for. Our test scores are very comparable on a local list. I didn't know I could talk that long. But anyway, I have tried to take my business experience and help the county from an economic standpoint, as far as making the ends meet. I think we have not raised the tax rate in 4 years, and I think that's something that is proof of that. I would like to continue as a commissioner, and I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Newell. We'll now move on to Republican candidate Gordon Powell.
Good evening. Thank you, Jaycees, for this opportunity. And Allison, if I weren't 41, I'd ask for an application. Thank you for all you do in the community. It's an outstanding organization. Together, we can make Person County better. You're probably going to hear me say that more frequently. My name is Gordon Powell, candidate for Person County Commissioner. As you well know, I've served Person County in an elected position for the last 12 years as chair of the Person County Board of Education, and we've had success. We aren't where we need to be, but we're headed in the right direction. And you'll know from my reputation and from my service, I am a dedicated public servant. I believe in and love this county. I have had several very attractive job offers over the years, both in North Carolina and out of state, but I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay right here in Person County, and I do want to make it even a better place to live. I've served the public as a civic leader in several different organizations. Most of all, I'm most proud of is better than 50 years of service to my church. 40 years of education as a teacher at community college and high school level. And as I look back and look forward at the same time, I have a few goals as a county commissioner. And these points keep coming out. You're going to hear this more from all of us, I think, as we speak. Economic development is my primary number one priority. Without new jobs and a new realm of jobs, we're not going to have much success in Person County. And I don't mean jobs as we did, tobacco farmers and textiles. We all know it's not there anymore. We need a new breed of educated young people that are able to work in the 21st century technology age and not something in the past. I think one other thing we need along with economic development is improved infrastructure, and that's countywide, not just around town, but countywide. And I believe one of our ways of success there is going to be regional partnerships. We can't do it alone. Person County can't do it alone. I hold public safety in a high regard and appreciate what they do here in this county. I have a son that's in law enforcement, and I know the ins and outs of those jobs and what comes along with it. And of course, we all know as well, education is where the future is. The young people that we have, they are our futures. They're going to be sitting where you are today and where I am today. So as I look too at Person County and its region that we're in, there's a huge skill gap between what we are teaching and what children are achieving and what business and industry needs today. You know how the children are. If I want to know how to do something on a computer, I get my 8-year-old grandson. So that's the way it goes. But that's what they're raised with, and that's how they think and they operate. So our skill level needs to be changed, and we need to focus on that in order to be able to attract new business, a different scope of business and industry in this county. And again, I think we're going to need to focus on a region. We need help, and I think there are people out there willing to do it for us. Together, we can make Person County better. Thank you. And I would appreciate your vote. I forgot that. Leslie held up 30-second signs. I was ready to go. I thought that was you're out of here. But it would be my honor and pleasure to continue to serve the people of Person County as a commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. We will continue with the Democratic incumbent, Jimmy Clayton. And while Mr. Clayton is walking to the podium, I'll just remind you, commissioners, that you do have up to 4 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much. My name is Jimmy Clayton. I would like to thank the Jaycees for providing me the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I've been on the Person County Board of Commissioners for quite a while. It's almost hard to say what you really want to say because I prepared for 2 minutes and they gave me 4, so I'm going to do the best I can do with this. I graduated from Helena High School. I went to NC State University. I graduated from there in Piedmont Community College. I was an environmental health specialist in Durham County, and then I came to Person County as an environmental health specialist and worked my way up to environmental health supervisor. And I was given the Outstanding Environmental Health Supervisor Award while I was in Person County. I also served as interim health director up here. I want to be sure I put that in from Tillett. Was on the Board of Health at the time I was the interim director. I worked as a regional environmental specialist with the State Health Department, where I did work with the Children's Environmental Branch, and we did investigations for kids with high blood lead levels. That was quite a rewarding experience, and we were the first group that had a state organization that did that. And when I retired from over there, I was given the Order of the Longleaf Pine by Governor Jim Hunt, and that was quite an honor. I'm currently employed part-time with the Granville Vance Health Department, even though I look like I ought to be retired. I still work some over there. I've been vice chairman of the Person County Board of County Commissioners from 2004 to 2010 and chairman from 2010 to 2013. I serve on the Orange Person Chatham Mental Health Board, Carter Board of Directors, and I've been a past chair of that, and I'm presently the treasurer of that board. In 2009, I got the Outstanding County Official Award from that board. I take seriously serving on these appointed committees. I think they're important. At times, I've seen commissioners that didn't seem to think it was as important to go to some of those meetings, but if they put you on that type of board, then I think you ought to be committed to go and serve and try to do the best that you can do with them. I've also been on the Workforce Development Board, Rural Transportation Authority. I've served as chairman of that. I'm presently treasurer of the Upper Neuse River Basin Association. We're trying to work with this stormwater issue that's in Person County that we've all had to deal with, and also the Falls Lake project. That's getting to be quite a thing, and our group is doing a lot of sampling and other things on the lake down there that the state didn't do when the recession hit, and they cut back doing those things, and it's information that we need to try to keep it from being such an impact on Person County. I'm on the board of directors with the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and I'm currently chair of the Environment Committee for that association. I'm on the National Association of Counties, which is NACO. You probably would recognize that acronym before you would the National Association of Counties, but I'm a member of the Environment and Energy Committee on that board. I do not support expansion of the landfill that we're looking at, of expanding it to a 100-mile radius and 2,000 tons a day. I support continued funding for person industries. I'll support person industries because I support people with disabilities. I think that's a very important thing for Person County to do. Top 3 priorities are the Dan River project. I think that's important for economic development. The STEM school program, or magnet school, or what you want to call it, that they're talking about putting at Helena. The broadband project that we've already got started, and we need to further implement that. We've got a real drug problem in Person County when we have 100 kids in foster care, and we only have 40,000 people in this county. In Orange County, it doesn't have many more of that in foster care than we do. And my name is Jimmy Clayton. I would appreciate your vote when you get ready to go to the polls to vote. And if you didn't find out all you want to know about me tonight, just give me a call or either look on my Facebook page. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Clayton. We'll now call the Democratic incumbent, Ray Jeffers.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Jaycees for hosting this forum, and I apologize for being a little late. I was at a church meeting, trustees and deacons, and if you're in any one of those, you know that could be interesting when you put both of us together. So it took a little longer than expected. My name is Ray Jeffers. I'm running for my 3rd term on the Person County Board of County Commissioners, and it's been my honor to serve you the past 8 years. Since being elected in 2008, I've definitely taken my job serious. I currently serve on more boards or local boards than any other commissioner, and I actually go to the meetings. And if you think that's not something, check the attendance on some of those meetings, and you'll see. And every time you go to one of those meetings, that's Person County at the table. And I've always said from someone I heard years ago, we want to make sure that we're always at the table and not on the menu. I currently serve on the state board for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, where I served president 2 years ago. I also serve on the NACO, the National Association of Counties Board of Directors, for our national counties. And that's where we actually, Person County has someone at the table when we're talking about federal issues. One in mind, I serve on the Chiefs Committee for our volunteer fire departments, and one thing I could bring back to them was when the Affordable Care Act went into effect, there were some concerns about some of the volunteer fire departments having to have coverage and things like that, and through legislation and with NACO we were able to take that out for them. And so it's just definitely important to serve on those committees. I also serve on several state boards. I serve on the Agricultural Preservation Trust Fund Board, where about 2 years ago we were able to secure funds for Person County to do a farmland preservation fund, and I also serve on the Cooperative Extension Advisor Council for North Carolina A&T. And so, and all those boards and things I sit on, that's Person County at the table. That's us knowing what's coming down the pike before it hits us. Our involvement in state association, that's us down the street on Jones Street where we can keep an eye on Larry and everybody else to make sure that the right legislation comes before counties. And so, that's important. 3 top priorities for me in a third term. Number 1, senior services. 2 years ago, our health department released our county health report. By 2030, 62% of our citizens will be seniors, and that is huge. I'm not a senior, but they are calling it the silver tsunami, and we need to be ready for that. Person County, that's a lot of services that will be offered, and we just need to be prepared. Number 2 for me, Jimmy touched on it a little bit. I'm currently serve as chairman of our Department of Social Service Board, and when you have over 90 children in foster care and you don't have enough foster homes, and that's the most you've ever had in the county, we've got a problem. And a lot of those children are infants that when they were born, they were drug tested at the hospital and found with drugs in their system and then taken from their families. And we need to do, our sheriff and our DA, they're doing an excellent job, but we need to do more to have programs to hopefully prevent this and get some of these people help. If drugs have never touched your family, you're truly blessed. But I think we all know someone, if not in our family, a friend that is touched, and we need to do all we can to keep productive citizens here in the county. Third, economic development. You hear a lot about this from all the candidates, but my big thing about economic development is you have to know the facts. When 19% of your population is 4-year degrees, 30% have some college, 30% have high school, then that handicaps us on some of the only trying to attract those manufacturing jobs. We've got to get that up. We've got to work with the school board. We've got to work with PCC. We need to train our citizens for the jobs we're trying to attract. If not, we're going to train them to leave. And if we're attracting jobs that they can't have, we're just bringing jobs for someone else. My name is Ray Jeffers. I would appreciate your support for a third term on County Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jeffers. And last, we will invite Democrat Donald Long to the podium.
What a pleasure it is to be here tonight. I'd like to thank the Roxborough Jaycees for sponsoring this program and for the many projects you do for Roxborough and Person County each year. Good evening. I'm Donald Long, and I would like to serve you as your county commissioner. This is a very important election, and I urge you to choose your commissioners very carefully. I will carry your concerns when I vote as your commissioner. I'm a native of Person County. I am married to Sheila Perkins Long, and we have 3 children, Mitchell, Clayton, and Morgan, and 1 granddaughter, Danley. I've been a strong supporter of public education. I was a founding board member of Roxborough Community School and served 9 years as chairman of the board, being elected board chairman emeritus upon my retirement. I'm very proud of the accomplishments of Roxborough Community School during my leadership. We received the highest designation from the State Board of Education. I have been active in the Boy Scouts, serving as a deacon, elder in my church, and currently serving on the Recreation Advisory Board as chairman of the board and vice chairman of the Person County Social Service Board. I'm asking for your vote. I'm Donald Long, a candidate for county commissioner, and I'm on your side. There are many items of concern facing the Board of Commissioners, and I would like to discuss just a few. The landfill. I acknowledge that we as a county must place our garbage somewhere, but I do not support the contract as proposed. It was very interesting at the PC Pride Forum last week. Each candidate was asked, what is your top spending priorities should the county have a substantial increase in revenue? Well, all the candidates had a list of spending priorities. My top priority was not spend it all. Lower your taxes and foster and promote economic development for good paying jobs right here in good old Person County. Person Industries. I do support Person Industries. It provides needed and meaningful work for our citizens. Mom and Daddy always said, fight for what is right, fight for those that can't fight for themselves, and let your legacy be that you planted a garden, or we planted a garden where others can prosper. Education. There is never enough money allotted to education, and we need to strongly support our schools and Piedmont Community College. And lastly, economic development. There aren't enough good-paying jobs here in Person County, and my priority from the first day as your commissioner to the last day will be to foster an environment and infrastructure to create more jobs, period. Folks, if you share these beliefs, then my campaign is your campaign. If you believe we can do better to recruit industries, if you want lower taxes, then please join my campaign. If you want our young people to stay here and raise their families, then support my campaign. If you give me a chance, that is exactly what I'll do as your commissioner. I'll work for you. So don't complain, get out and vote. We can do what's right for all of our citizens. We can be godly people, respectful, humble, and caring. But no one can do it alone. I'll do my part if you will do your part and vote for me as one of your commissioners. And as we head into football season and political season, remember, go long.
Thank you, Mr. Long. We'll now move into the race for District Court Judge for the Judicial District 9A. Just as a reminder, candidates, you will have your 2 minutes for your stump speech, and if you will stay seated at the front of the room, we will go through the questions individually. We will start out with the Republican incumbent, Judge Mike Gentry.
First of all, as far as the stump speech goes, I don't have one because I've been a judge for the Castle and Person County for over 15 years, and if you want to know what I stand for, ask people that have been in front of me in court. But now you might want to know a little bit about me. I am chairman of I'm a Methodist, Pastor Parish Relations Committee. I was a charter member of the Ansville Jaycees, which is now defunct. I want to thank these Jaycees for having us here, and I want to ask you to vote for me. Now, a little bit more about Mike Gentry. I've been married to my wife Betty for over 49 years. I was and am a very lucky man. I practiced law, private practice, for over 23 years. I've been a district court judge for over 15 years. I served in the United States Army during the Vietnam conflict. Luckily, I did not have to go for over 3 years. After I came back to North Carolina, I joined the 1131st Signal Battalion in Durham in the National Guard and served for a little over 3 years. I'm a third-degree Master Mason. I attended UNC as an undergraduate and as a law school. But having said all of that, my absolute favorite thing is the children. That's what my job is to look after the children. We'll get into that some more later. But right now, my wife and I are raising our 4 and 7-year-old great-granddaughters, and it's time. Okay, well, please vote for me. I would appreciate your vote, and thank you.
And now the Republican challenger, John Stoltz.
Thank you, Allison Brent, for this event. I texted or emailed Allison last night, and it was almost like I was texting somebody because I got an immediate response, and I appreciate that. That's the kind of involvement that we need in our community. I'm Jay Stoltz, candidate for District Court Judge here in Person and Caswell counties. I have a lot of different titles and labels that you can put on me. I am the Caswell County Chief Assistant District Attorney under our elected DA, Mr. Wallace Bradsher. I was previously the Person County Chief Assistant District Attorney for 4 years, from 2011 to 2015. I am married to my wife, Beth, and we have 2 wonderful children, both of who go to the Roxborough Community School where my wife teaches. I'm a member of Westwood Baptist Church, and there I have been the Scoutmaster and also the Trail Life USA Advisor. I am still a registered adult volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America, and I have participated in numerous volunteer projects and things in our community. I've been a practicing lawyer for 20 years. As of August the 24th, it's 20 years. And in that time, I have noticed that a lot of times people have lost confidence in our court system. And the reason that I'm running for judge is because I want to put my experience to work for the people of Person and Caswell counties. And the way that I can do that, there's a lot of educators in this room. We're running for we got a Board of Education election going on. We got a lot of educators in here, people that have been touched by education. If someone was to come in here and say that educators didn't do a good job, it would hurt your feelings. When our community and people on Facebook and different places are commenting that our court systems are a joke, that's talking about my family business. My father was an attorney. I'm an attorney. My father-in-law is an attorney. My grandfather was a court clerk and a magistrate for a number of years since just after the Second World War. The court system is my family business, and I would very much appreciate your vote for a district court judge in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stoltz. We'll now go through 3 questions that were emailed to the candidates a little over 24 hours ago. So just to let the audience know what the questions are, we'll recite the question, and then each candidate will have up to 2 minutes to answer the question. Just remember that Leslie in the back will hold up your time warning. First question. What is the most important thing that a district court judge does? Judge Gentry, we'll start with you.
That is such an easy question. The most important thing that district court judges do is look after the children in our district, wherever they are. It doesn't matter if I'm in DSS court, juvenile court, child support court, which I held today, divorce court, custody and visitation. All courts, even criminal, we need to look after our children. And if you want to know if I look after the children, ask people that have been in court, have seen me look after children. Our jobs as judges and as caring adults is always to look after the children. Now, a district court judge can do 3 things. I consider can do 3 things. They can take some of your money, they can put you in jail, or they can take your children. Now, I liken the first 2, the money and the property, and putting you in jail is throwing a grain of sand in the sea of life. The ripples soon vanish. But what a district court judge does in regard to children is throwing a boulder in the sea of life, and those waves will still be washing around when I'm dead and gone, when I've been buried. So, I know that as a child is raised, that shows how they're going to raise their children, and so on and so on. I take it very, very seriously, and it is the most important thing I do, is to look after the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stoltz?
You're going to hear a common theme. The most important thing that a district court judge does is deal with families. Now, it's easy to say that you're for the children and you look after the children. And I would encourage you to talk to people that have been in the court systems and determine how children are treated in our court system. You see, in custody, child support, delinquency, and abuse and neglect court, we have forever consequences, and it's the type of thing that does, as precisely as the judge said, does continue and has generational effects. You see, we have so many people who are raising their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren, and that's the degradation of our family. You see, in dealing with families, we must treat a family as a cohesive operating unit, and we have to preserve that at all costs. One of the ways that we do that is to make sure that when people come before us, we balance the right of our children and the parents and try to do what is right. Our North Carolina Supreme Court has said that the polar star of everything that we do in the court system as it relates to families is to look out for the best interest of minor children. When we're doing that, we need to make sure that we have adequate consequences and adequate tools for people to succeed. Now, the way that we do that is when a court requests something to happen, it needs to happen, and if there isn't, there needs to be consequences. We need to teach our children as they come into the court system, as they're delinquents, that there are meaningful consequences to what they do, and don't give them a go forth and sin no more sort of mentality. What we have to do is make good decisions for those children. You see, we have to protect that unit that is the family. It goes beyond the children. Children can't succeed without parents. And it's like a three-legged stool. You have two parents and a child, or more than one child. As you're doing that, you balance them, and when you're going to err, you err on the side of the best interest of minor children. And that's the most important thing a district court judge does.
Thank you. Our next question for the candidates: how do you balance holding the state to its burden of proof, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, in a criminal case, and in assuring citizens that you are tough on crime?
Well, first of all, we're talking about two different things. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt is guilt or innocence, and we're all assumed to be innocent. The state has to prove that you're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, after we decide guilt or innocence, we go into the punishment phase. Now, it has been my experience as a district court judge in this district that the state, through plea bargains, usually take away my ability to be tough on crime. If a plea agreement says no time, no active time or time served, and on no supervised probation, the judge has a choice. He can either reject the plea or he can accept the plea. If a judge rejects the plea, then, if it happens very often, it's going to back up the court system for years. So normally, I take the pleas. I don't reject many pleas, even though I think the best thing to do would be for somebody to spend a little time in jail. I really wish I could give people more little dips in jail. And just as an aside, 30, is that no time or 30 seconds? I normally give people, and I announce it in open court, if you don't want to have to pay a fine, court cost, or do community service, and you want to take a little dip in jail, just say dip in jail if I say guilty. And people rarely choose it, but they sometimes do. So, and a lot of times, time. Okay, thank y'all, and again, thank you.
Thank you, Judge Gentry. Mr. Stoltz?
The notion that holding the state to its burden of proof in a criminal case and that the public would have some pressure to have a judge be tough on crime are not inconsistent, but they're two separate things. You see, the burden of proof is decided in a courtroom like this, when you put on evidence. And when that evidence rises to a certain level, the judge can make a determination in that. But one of the things that doesn't need to be a factor in deciding the case is how the public is going to perceive it. What we have to make sure that we do is make sure that that burden doesn't travel up and down. When someone is a frequent flyer, been in the court system many times, the burden doesn't need to go down to make sure that they continue to be convicted. And similarly, when the person has never been before the court before, the burden doesn't need to go up for the state. The state needs to have a consistent burden. People should not have a court system that is erratic and unpredictable, because it is difficult for people to make decisions of how to plead their cases and what to do when they come in front of a judge if that burden goes up and down. You see, the system works just fine. We just need to make sure that the laws are evenly applied and applied to all people. Our cases don't need to be decided upon who our lawyer is. Our cases don't need to be determined about how much fine you can pay. Our cases don't need to be determined about what you look like when you come in courtroom. A courtroom ought to be about judging a person's character based upon their actions and what they have done. And they need to be judged fairly. But more importantly than that, what we have to do is make sure that the law was followed. The law is made by the legislature in Raleigh, and it is not for a judge, not me or anyone, to second guess what the legislature has done. We need to implement that and put together a cohesive plan that includes rehabilitation, intervention, and when necessary, incarceration.
Thank you. All right, one more question. How will your past legal experience shape your judicial temperament and decisions? Judge Gentry?
I would have to say that when I first started being a judge on the bench, that it had a lot to do with it. But right now, my judicial experience of over 15 years has completely shaped my judicial temperament, and I'm proud of it. My decisions in every case are shaped by the facts in each case, and my judgments in each case are shaped by these facts also. I have been to a lot of classes at the Institute of Government, Chapel Hill, to learn more about children and what they need. Children need love. And like I said, they are the most important thing that we need to do and look after. The courses have shaped my decisions by giving me a lot of knowledge about children and their needs and when they need it. For example, the first 6 months are the most important time in a child's life. Then the second 6 months. Then the third 6 months. I stated several times in court today, I did child support court today, that children need both parents. I tell people all the time in child support court, I will put you in jail today, and when you get out of jail, unless you're down to the level of a child molester, I'm going to give you visitation. So, parents need to be with their children. Children need to know their parents. And please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Stoltz?
I've been practicing law for 20 years. 14 of that as a everyday garden variety small town lawyer within 45 miles of this spot we're standing right now. The last 6 years I've been a prosecutor. I have done a little bit of everything that there is to do in the district court. That includes representing plaintiffs and defendants in child custody actions, prosecuting and defending people accused of crimes, prosecuting and defending juveniles accused of crimes. I've been the attorney advocate for the Guardian Ad Litem program in Rockingham County and standby counsel in person in Caswell County. I have represented payors, people that owe money and people that are supposed to be paid money. I've done collections for small businesses, and I've defended people when they are accused of not paying their bills and trying to get money out of them. I have been a district court arbitrator where I helped decide cases outside of the courtroom in Rockingham County when we had that program, and I participated in district court mediation in 17A Judicial District. What I think that we can do is my experience shapes and determines who I am, and that in turn shapes my judicial temperament. What I can tell you is that it's very difficult for me to sit here and talk to you about what I'm going to do as a judge, Contrary to what Judge Gentry has just said, he's talked about putting people in jail, and he's talked about how he's going to give both parents custody. Ladies and gentlemen, you can't make that determination because you hadn't heard the first bit of evidence yet. That is precisely the type of temperament that we don't need, and precisely why we have to reserve judgment, not go off half-cocked, make our decisions ahead of time. And what we need to do is listen to all the evidence and then reach out to people where they are. What we have to do, my temperament is this. I get upset. I've walked up and down in front of this jury before and been upset because of the indignities that I've seen with children in this courtroom. Most recently, I put someone in prison for 17 years. We need to have dignity, courtesy, and respect in the district courts of Person and Caswell County.
Thank you very much, Judge Gentry, Mr. Stoltz. We're now going to move on to the Person County Board of Education race. Just as a reminder, each of you will have 2 minutes to speak, and we will ask you to stay seated down front, and then we will also give 3 questions that you will have 2 minutes to answer each. We will start off with Democratic incumbent, Ms. Margaret Bratcher.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight for the community. I agree, you do a wonderful service for our community in many ways. And I will remind the audience that the Board of Education is a nonpartisan election. I am a registered Democrat, so I guess I'm a Democratic incumbent, but it is a nonpartisan election. I'm not going to spend my stump speech on I can, I did, I was. I'm going to go through some high points for you and ask for your support and for your vote for a 3rd term on the Board of Education. I believe my experience is important as we address the needs that we're facing in Person County schools. The first is the very important task is to hire a new superintendent. This is the single most important job of any school board, and it is the only person in the school system that the school board hires. We have to work, whatever 5 people you choose, as a team to make that happen for the betterment of our school system. Second, we need to work to improve the status of our continuing low-performing schools. We cut that number in half this year. We need to do it again. And our principals and our teachers work very hard on that. I recently served on a study group with the Public School Forum of North Carolina to study and write an action plan and recommendations regarding low-performing schools. We addressed trauma, racial equity, and the effect of poverty on learning. And third, the funding of our school system from the legislative level and the local level of teacher compensation, classroom supplies, etc. And we are most appreciative to our Board of County Commissioners who have been kind to us and to our teachers over the last couple of years in our budget. I believe I offer you the proven experience to address these needs as well as others that we faced in Person County, and I would appreciate your vote to help me continue to help our schools grow and excel.
Thank you, Ms. Bratcher. Philip Gillis.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Philip Gillis. I'm running for Person County Board of Education. I am from here. My family is from here. I was raised in Allensville, C&G Supply Center, and the Person County Schools. I've been a teacher for, this is my 15th year, and pretty much when it comes down to it, education is my life. As you see, I'm a different type of candidate. I'm not your standard candidate. I'm speaking to you today as a parent. I'm speaking to you as a teacher. I'm speaking to you as a member of this community. And it's the community that is the main part of my campaign. We must continue to build this from a community standpoint. We work with the students, we work with family, we work with teachers, we will work with the churches, we work with the community leaders. There are many issues to tackle when you're looking at the school board, hiring the superintendent. And one of the main ones, since I am a teacher, is teacher turnover rate. Why we have to ask hard questions like, why are teachers leaving? How do we keep teachers here? It's not just money and supplies. That's a part of it, but I will tell you now, they tell you teachers don't do this for money, and I'm here to vouch that is 100% truth. We do this job because we love it. And it's from that standpoint that I feel like I can bring a different perspective. It's important to ask teachers, to ask family, and to ask the students what do they need, what change they want, and then we have to act on it as well. So, once again, my name is Philip Gillis. I have been a teacher for 15 years. I love this county. I love the people here. Thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gillis. I'll now call Frida Tillman.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you again, Jaycees, for hosting this event this afternoon. I am Frida Tillman, and I am a candidate for the Board of Education. I am an educator who is committed to the success of students in our school district. I have a total of 43 years as an educator, and currently I'm completing my first 4-year term as a member of the Person County Board of Education, and I am seeking to be reelected. Now, we've gone through all the different funding things that our school system needs, so we don't need to go through that again. So let's talk about priorities, what we want to see for our school system. We want to continue to need funding for instructional support positions, to recruit and retain teachers for our school system, especially in the area of math and science, so that we can be competitive with other districts, funding to retain TAs in our classrooms, and programs that are designed to meet the instructional needs of our students. There is a high percentage of involvement in schools, but the district needs involvement in all schools, not just some schools. The district realizes and recognizes the importance of ensuring that the community be involved in the education system of their district. These are some of the priorities I have for the district, but I want to continue to be an advocate for excellence in education for our school system, higher student achievement, to build public support, and trust in the community through communication and assessment, and have adequate resources to meet students' achievement through the budget process. These priorities are important to me because I have been in education for a number of years. I've had the opportunity to know and understand the value of educating and preparing our students for a successful future, to communicate to them to make a difference in the value of education in the community, know the importance of funding to provide resources needed. I know that students are required to be proficient on a state test. I am knowledgeable about the school improvement plan and continuous improvement in these areas. I am committed to the vision of the Person County Schools, having high expectations and values for all students so they will be prepared for the challenges of the future. Again, I am Frida Tillman, and please vote to re-elect Frida Tillman for the Person County Board of Education.
Thank you, Ms. Tillman. And I did fail to mention that Ms. Tillman is an incumbent, so my apologies. Next, we will call Dr. Kay Allen.
Good evening, and I would also like to thank the Jaycees for making this event possible tonight. My name is Margaret Kay Allen, and I'm a candidate for Person County Board of Education. I earned a bachelor's degree in English from Everett College, a master's degree in education from Duke University, and a doctorate in educational administration from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. The education of children has been my life's work. I have a total of 19 years of teaching experience and 21 years as a school administrator. I understand what it takes to provide a quality education for your children. I was the assistant principal at Helena Elementary and was honored to serve as principal at both Oak Lane and Helena Elementaries here in Person County. Since my retirement 3 years ago, I have volunteered as a guardian ad litem advocate here in Person County, and I am the voice for children who are in the custody of social services. Why should you vote for me? I understand school law and regulations. I have experience stretching limited budgets to meet the diverse needs of our students. I also have extensive experience interviewing and hiring quality staff for our school system, which will help in hiring our next superintendent. I have the leadership skills to guide the district through the transition to a new superintendent and to continue the tradition of excellence in Person County schools. I am ready to once again offer my experience and my leadership skills to the students, parents, and staff, as well as the citizens of Person County. This election has added significance now, since the board's first action will be to hire the new superintendent. All of the candidates for Board of Education are here because of their love for Person County schools and their students. I think what this election comes down to is who has the leadership skills in education to help move the district forward. I hope you will vote for an experienced educational leader whose only job will be providing leadership to Person County schools. Again, my name is Margaret K. Allen, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Harriet Tillett.
Good evening. I would like to thank also the Jaycees for hosting this forum. And I can tell you as an educator, the most rewarding experience is to see your students be successful. And two of mine are up there, a couple more over there, and one is my opponent. So we hope maybe he's not quite as successful as I am, but my name is Harriet Tillett, and I am running for the Person County Board of Education. I have been involved with Person County schools in one form or another since I entered first grade. I have had the opportunity to participate in the school system as a student for 12 years. We didn't have kindergarten back then. As a parent for 15 years. Both of my children are products of the Person County school system, and both are very successful adults. A teacher for 27 years, and in administration as an assistant principal, a district program specialist, and a principal for 8 years. Now, please don't add all that up, because some of that was concurrent, and I'm really not 105 years old. I'm completely vested in the Person County schools. I'm running for a position on the Board of Education because I believe my knowledge of the educational system from pre-K through post-secondary would be a valuable asset to the board. My love for the children of Person County is evidenced by the fact that I dedicated 35 years of my life to them. And when I retired, I accepted a position 3 weeks later to continue to serve the children of Person County. It is my desire now to continue that service as a member of the Board of Education as well. And I would greatly appreciate your vote, because experience does matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tillett. Christopher Atkins.
Good evening. I'm Chris Atkins, and I am a dentist here in Roxborough, North Carolina. I know that's kind of an unusual background, but let me explain to you how I come here before you as a candidate for Board of Education. First off, I am a dentist. I own my own dental practice here in Roxborough. I've been here for 5 years now in that dental practice. I got to Roxborough because I married a girl from here. I married a girl named Laura Humphreys Atkins, who grew up in Bushy Fork Community, Hurdle Mills. We have 3 children, a girl, Lily, who's 8 years old, 2 boys, Tripp, who's 6, and Bradger, who's 4. My 2 oldest are at Stories Creek Elementary. So the most popular question I've heard in regards to me running is, why are you a dentist running for Board of Education? So let me explain to you my background a little bit. I'm from Gaston County. My father was a machinist for 40 years there. My mother was a teacher for 30 years in Gaston County. So I guess that's where the seed was planted. I went to NC State University, got a degree in chemistry from there, loved my time at NC State, and developed a desire to work with young people there. So I attended UNC Chapel Hill, got a master's in teaching, and taught high school for 4 years at Cary High School in Cary, North Carolina. Also was an assistant football coach there, enjoyed my time there working with young people. But I had a desire to do something else. I wanted to work in healthcare, and I decided that my niche in healthcare was going to be dentistry. So I pursued a career in dentistry, And I've enjoyed my career in dentistry, but I have not lost my desire to have an impact on young people. And so my desire is to do that through the Board of Education, to be able to help impact young people in our community, to help all students in Person County attain the best education possible here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Dennis Cantor.
Thank you. My name is Dennis Cantor, and I'm a candidate for the school board. I would like to thank the Jaycees for this opportunity to allow us to share ideas of how we plan on approaching the school board and making the school board and the school system exactly what we know it all should be. As a father of 4 sons and a husband to a current county school educator, as well as my time spent coaching, judging science fairs, and aiding the reality store at the Roxborough Area Chamber of Commerce as well, I know exactly how amazing our students are. I know exactly how much they want to reach for the stars. I know I can bring diversity to this board through a parent perspective. I am the type that can make firm decisions, but I am never opposed to listening to other opinions and always being fair and objective towards their other ideas. We need to bring our community into our schools, for the knowledge and compassion will help our students to be the best and grow as citizens. Through the use of upgraded software, we can have the ability to be checking on our students and understanding, and also while they're doing their lessons and tasks, to help them better learn, as well as to help them grow with the decision making that they will be making. This board will be asked to decide the direction our school will be going right off the start. For someone who can hit the ground running, I know that I can add a parent's perspective to that very direction. So I ask you to consider me, Dennis Cantor, as you cast your vote for the Person County School Board. But before you do, a lot of the commissioners and actually all the candidates have mentioned something that's very important to me as well, economic development. And I firmly believe economic development starts right here. This is ground level right here. These are our students that will actually impact our time. That is very difficult. Needless to say, the time that we spend with our children today will benefit us tomorrow. And I, like many of you, want my children to come back to Person County, to come back, grow businesses, and watch my grandchildren grow and flourish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cantor. Joan Hodges.
Thank you so much for hosting this great event. I'm Joan Hodges. I'm running for school board. My husband, Jim Short, and I moved to this county a long time ago, 21 years ago, and we brought with us our 3 kids. One was a little bitty baby, and then we had another. And they all went to the school system here, and we have learned so much about the school system and their parents, and all through that. And many of the people running I love and know, and they enhanced our children's lives. And we all the people running for the school board care about the children. And I care deeply about the children in Person County. So what makes me different from these people? Well, I'd say it's my experiences, my skills, and my passion. As an attorney for 10 years, I advocated for people, including children in abusive home situations. When I was in Wake County, I was actually awarded the Outstanding Volunteer Lawyer for one of those cases, although if y'all knew the cases, y'all would have done the same thing too. My skills I used as chair of the Person County Partnership for Children for 3 years. We'd get people on the bus and we'd go to Raleigh and we would advocate for the children of this county, and we'd educate the legislators, and that was a great experience and something that I could do. But the biggest passion I had was when I was able to teach high school at Person High School. And I've learned a lot about what the kids need and what we can offer. It's a great school system, but I think we can do even more. So I appreciate your vote. I appreciate the opportunity of having this forum. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges. Cornelia J.
Good evening, everyone. And just like everybody else said, thank you, Jaycees, for having us tonight. I am a candidate for the Board of Education. I was born in Roxborough, North Carolina, worked as a nurse at Person Memorial Hospital for 37 years, retired and then continued in the medical field at Piedmont Community College as a continuing education adjunct faculty member for 15 years. I'm a lifetime member of the Mount Bethel Baptist Church here in Roxborough, very active in the community as a volunteer. In running for the Board of Education, my thought is to provide each child with the best education possible, to provide each child with the tools to achieve the highest level of education in the public school system that can be reached. Myself, I went to a community college to gain my education when I finished high school. At first, I worked in the kitchen at the hospital washing pots and pans. But I decided I wanted to do better. So I went to the community college and got my nursing education, and I have continued to go to school. When my child went to school, started school, I started community college. When he went off to college, I continued community college. Since I have been in the community college, I have still going to college. I'm going to college. I have a 4-year degree in Christian education. I have had about 2 years of master's, and I'm on my way to my doctorate. Somebody would ask me why. I said, why not? Overall, the public schools in Person County are improving. The Board of Education meeting held last Tuesday night was very interesting to me. The number of low-performing schools has decreased from 4 to 2. North Elementary, one of the low-performing schools, because of the low enrollment, to me, would allow the students more time to interact with teachers. That's just my thought. The board was very appreciative of the reports from the school. I'm aware of some of the issues in the school, but at this time, I cannot talk about them because I've never been into the schools. I'm not a public school teacher. You know, I have taught, but I taught nursing, not public school teaching. Give me a chance to help make decisions that would affect the youth of Person County. And the reason I'm interested in the Board of Education, I see so many students losing interest in school after they leave middle school. I think education is a wonderful thing. I have enjoyed my whole life of education, and I plan on continuing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. J. Thank you, Ms. J. Derek Sims.
Again, I would like to thank the Jaycees again for having this forum. My name is Derek Sims, and I'm running for Person County Board of Education. I live in Timberlake, North Carolina, where I work as an environmental health and safety manager for U.S. Flue Cure tobacco growers, a position I've held for 12 years. I have a wife, Michelle, 2 daughters, Tiffany and Taylor, and my son, Will. Tiffany is a pharmacist for CVS in Benson. Taylor is a high school Spanish teacher in Holly Springs. Will is attending middle school here in Roxborough. I serve on a number of boards throughout the Roxborough area. I'm the chairman of the Roxborough Area Chamber of Commerce, a position I've held since January 2014. I'm also chairman of the Carter Workforce Development Board, serving Franklin, Granville, Person, Vance, Warren counties, a member of the Person County Economic Development Commission, a member of the Person County Business Parks, the Economic Restructuring Committee of Roxborough Development Group. I believe my leadership and decision-making skills make me a great candidate for the Board of Education. My priorities for the coming year, one is to help the low-performing schools improve their ranking. We have programs that are in place to improve these scores, and we need to monitor these programs to ensure that they are working, and if they are not, we need to look for other solutions. I believe education plays an important role in the workforce development and economic development. We need to ensure that our high school graduates that are not going to college or technical schools are prepared to enter the workforce in Person County. And I can tell you firsthand, we struggled to get general labor at our manufacturing plant at U.S. Flue Cured Tobacco. Without a strong workforce, it is going to be difficult to get economic development in Person County. I believe to help our teachers and students achieve success, we must go into the schools, meet the teachers, meet the administrators, walk the halls, and identify areas for improvement together. I'm fortunate with my work schedule to be off on Fridays. If I'm elected, I plan to visit every school in the coming months and give the teachers, administrators an opportunity to sit down with me to discuss their needs and what I can do as a board member or what our board can do to help them be successful. If you support me and my priorities, vote for Derek Sims, Person County Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Paulina Lopez.
Thank you, Jaycees, for hosting this forum and giving us all the opportunity to speak to you and to the community. I'm going to tell you all a little bit about myself, followed by some of the needs in our school system and how I will approach them. I'm a Person County native. I was born at Durham Regional Hospital, and I've lived in Timberlake my entire life. I went through our school system from kindergarten all the way through my high school graduation, and I've always been passionate about education, and that has shown through my work. Since elementary school, with the President's Award for Academic Achievement, continuing through high school when Person County Partners in Education named me an NC Scholar, and presently I was one of 16 who were chosen for a full tuition scholarship at NC Central School of Law, which is my current day job. I have an associate's degree in criminal justice from PCC, a bachelor's degree in forensic psychology from Southern New Hampshire University, and a master's degree in political science from UNC Chapel Hill. I have also tutored on all levels from elementary school through college. And I have also served in leadership roles in a variety of organizations in school, college, and in our community, such as the Girl Scouts. Through these organizations, I've had over 10 years of experience in budgeting, project planning, and community organization. I have served on the United Way Community Investment Team, which is a budgeting committee which allocates each year's funds. All of the organizations which were requesting funding were deserving causes, and I have experience in making these hard budgeting choices as part of a team, which is exactly one of the larger functions of the Board of Education. Now that I've given you some of the highlights of my accomplishments, experience, and commitment to education, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the needs of our school system. I noticed a few shortcomings as I was coming through the school system, and through talking to many of our teachers this year, I have found that our schools still have some of the same needs. We need textbooks which are up to date. We need teachers' assistants so that our teachers can make the best use of instructional time. And we need more copy resources so that our teachers are not restricted by copy rations. Not having textbooks and not having resources to copy the materials that are used is unacceptable. Now, although the state and our county commissioners are the ones who set our education budget, the Board of Education does control how we allocate these funds. We can address our teachers' and students' needs for textbooks, teachers' assistants, and copy rations by prioritizing them in the budget. These are the things which our teachers have said we need to improve, so they must come first. As a member of the Board of Education, I will continue to have this open communication with our teachers, parents, and students to meet our school's needs. A vote for me, Paulina Lopez, is a vote to equip our teachers with supplies and assistance they need to prepare our students for success. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. We'll now move into the question and answer portion for our candidates for the Board of Education. You will go in the same order that you spoke in previously, so we'll try to move through this quickly. The first question that will be answered: what impact has the Earl Bratcher Preschool had on closing the achievement gap within the Person County school system? We'll start with Margaret Bratcher and follow with Philip Gillis and Frida Tillman.
This is indeed an interesting follow-up question from, in light of the work I did with the Public School Forum this year. on low-performing schools. And I will interject here that I am a proponent of universal pre-K. I think that's where it really happens. And I believe that it's a critical experience for our children to ensure their future academic success. I also believe that I'm probably never going to see that happen because of the expense that would have to come from the state in order to fund that. Achievement gaps do begin to form before students enter kindergarten, and they widen rapidly during the early years of their K-12 education. If students are not reading on grade level at the end of third grade, their prospects for success are severely diminished in school and beyond. I believe that we need to increase the investment in high-quality pre-K programs and to serve the students in K-3 and low-performing schools. I would remind you that Earl Bratcher Preschool is a federally funded program and does not receive funds from Person County Schools. It is only logical to assume that Earl Bratcher Preschool is preparing students to enter kindergarten, and we do hear positive results from our principals, and we see slow perhaps, but continuing growth and improvement in our reading scores. Earl Bratcher Preschool is engaging parents as partners, which is a very important part of their child's education. And developmentally, the Earl Bratcher Preschool students are meeting goals in social emotional skills, in literacy, and in fine motor skills. These skills will contribute to closing the achievement gap for students as they continue their education. And this, as I said, is where our goals of increasing graduation rate and decreasing dropout really does begin. And Harriet Ray has assured us that it's going to be 2030 before the seniors take over this county. So we've got that long before we can be seniors. Thank you, and I appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Gillis.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a high school teacher at heart, but I realize the importance of preschool education. I have two children, and they were fortunate and they attended preschool at Long Memorial. And I see just how important that education was now that they're at North End Elementary. The first 5 years are extremely important in a child's life. At Earl Bratcher, they serve some of our county's poorest children. They have two funding sources from NC Pre-K More at 4 and the other is Head Start. This means that children who otherwise would not be lucky enough to have access to a preschool, they're getting that advantage that they need, and they absolutely need it. They have structured programs for early academics, for socialization, behavior interventions, improving adaptive skills and self-care. Some are also identified as developmentally delayed or speech delayed, which means they're placed in the EC programs, which can happen before they get to high school. And I know that especially from working at Person High School and working with the EC classes. And just that work early in their life, early in their development, can help them so much. I think this helps to reduce the number of children that are retained in kindergarten, and pretty much the earlier the help that they receive, the better off it is. Because this is Person County, we don't give up on children. We start as early as we can and we help them all the way through. You don't look at a problem at the end. You look at the beginning and say, how can we help you here to get you to reach this level? But just like everything else with education, they have their problems. And one of it is dealing with transportation, that they really do need something. If they're working with some of the poorest families, then transportation can be an issue. So it needs to be a priority. We need to look into how to get these children into the services that they need. What do we need to do? Once again, that's funding. That's somebody else's agenda. We just as school board members make sure that we are spending it as wisely and efficiently as we can. And I think that Earl Bratcher is absolutely a wonderful place to start. Thank you.
Ms. Tillman.
For many of you that know me, I am an elementary educator and I taught kindergarten for 30 years, and I did survive. I also know the importance of an early childhood education program, and it does make a positive effect on a child's learning and development. There is evidence that shows that Earl Bratcher Preschool is preparing students for kindergarten. They are involved in various learning stations, which includes a technology station. The curriculum is aligned to prepare students for kindergarten by using a literacy and phonics program in the Head Start program. This program is also used through the grades K through second grade. At the end of the 2015-16 school year, their test results showed that more than 85% of the students met or exceeded expected growth. This is reflected also in our district performance grade. A majority of the Person County School students showed expected growth or beyond expected growth during the 2015-16 academic years, and Person County elementary students in grades 3 through 5 outperformed the state average in most areas. So again, as a 30-year veteran, as kindergarten teacher, yes, Head Start does work, and it's proven. Thank you.
We'll continue with Dr. Kay Allen, Harriet Tillett, and Chris Atkins.
Was not able to find any data that specifically followed children from Earl Bradshaw Preschool, but I did find a study that the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction did, and they used it based on their curriculum, and that is what Earl Bradshaw now follows. They found significant gains from pre-K children, from pre-K through kindergarten, across all domains of learning. The children showed gains in language and literacy skills, math skills, general knowledge, and behavioral skills. Based on my experience as an elementary principal, I will admit it, there were times that I had some concerns about what exactly was going on at Earl Bradshaw, because we were getting kids that wanted to play. And they would ask you, when do we play? That was all they wanted to know about school. But I did see a change in that, and Earl Bradshaw kids now were coming into kindergarten with a true head start. They had school-ready behaviors, and they had basic academic skills. Any help that we can give to a disadvantaged child gives them confidence and a positive attitude towards school, and that's a definite plus in reducing the achievement gap. And we did see a lot of improvement in these children's performance when they entered kindergarten. I just wish that more children had the opportunity to be in an organized learning environment prior to kindergarten.
Thank you. Ms. Tillett.
I guess I have a little different perspective as I have been able to work very closely with the staff of Earl Bradshaw Preschool due to my current position as Student Support Service Director at Bethel Hill Charter School. I can't say enough about the communication that they provide us so that when those students enter our school, we know what they need, we know the difficulties they have. I have been invited to sit on a transition team for those students who may be developmentally delayed or have other issues. I cannot tell you what an advantage that is. The students that come to us are socially, emotionally, and behaviorally prepared to enter kindergarten, and I can say that across the board. I looked at their kindergarten assessments. I looked at their recent October benchmark data, and I see that they are academically prepared as well. I followed also the ones that entered Bethel Hill a year ago, and their academic gains are even more impressive than those in kindergarten. The one exception are the students that come to us as English language learners, and of course that is to be expected. I can't say enough about the staff of Earl Bradshaw Preschool. They are doing a phenomenal job of preparing our kids. Thank you.
Mr. Atkins.
I think we all know how important preschool is for our children. I can vouch for that for myself. I have 3 children of my own. 2 attended Law Memorial Preschool, and 1 is there now. And I've seen the growth that they've had through a preschool program. I want to reiterate something that Frida said that stuck out to me too in looking at this. 85% of students this past school year at Earl Bradshaw Preschool met or exceeded expectations, and I thought that caught my eye too, because that's real telling. Because you think about some of the backgrounds of some of those kids that are at that school, and how impressive that really is. I mean, it's easy to throw around numbers, but with those kids bringing all they bring to those schools, it's just very impressive to me that school has been able to do that with those children. And I think they're also doing other things that don't show up in statistics. They're helping parents learn how to read to their children, learning how important it is to spend time thinking about those things with their kids and spending time with them, educating them, because that's where education starts. So that's what I was most impressed about. Is it closing the achievement gap? I don't know if we have enough to say that, but it certainly is giving us a head start for some of those kids who are starting at somewhat of a disadvantage at home. So I have nothing but good things to say after looking over what I looked over in regards to Earl Bradshaw Preschool. Thank you.
Mr. Cantor, and then Ms. Hodges and Ms. Jay.
Like all of our preschools throughout our county, anytime that you get a book in the hands of our children and get them started on the educational path, the better off that they're going to be, and the more that they'll move forward. Basically, a book in the hands of our pre-K today is equal to many of the books that we ask them to absorb throughout the many years to come. I always look at pre-K as basically teaching our children how to walk before the big race. The main objective really here is not necessarily how the performance is of all of the pre-Ks and all the Earl Bradshaw and pre-Ks, mainly how we use that performance when we move them into kindergarten. All too often we have children that will be exceeding growth and doing a wonderful job, and because of the situation that the classroom may be in with the teacher having too many students at one time or needing a teacher's aid, then you have those students that are, okay, Jimmy, you're doing a great job. If you'll just continue to read your book, I've got to focus a little bit harder on this child to get them up to where you are so that you all proceed to first grade together. And to me, that's a disadvantage. You're basically taking the time that that child has spent, the parents have spent, teaching that child the fundamentals of reading and education in itself. And you're kind of holding them on their own while everyone else is caught up. And so one of the first things that needs to be looked at as far as that goes is, we've got to get used to that time thing, is basically making sure that our students, as they're progressing, they continue to progress. And the ones that need the extra effort, they get the extra effort, but not at the expense of others. As someone who has had kids in Miss Siball's, Carol Siball's Little People's preschool, I can contest the abilities that my children possessed going into kindergarten. I was amazed myself. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this important topic. Earl Bradshaw is a jewel in this community. It is so important to our community. I got to work with Carla Oakley, back when she was Carla Oakley, and the executive director of Earl Bradshaw a long time ago, and learned so much about it. And one thing that I thought was really important for us to know is that, yes, my kids had the opportunity to go to Long Memorial and other preschools in which you pay. So what happens to those kids whose parents can't afford that? Well, we don't even quite have a situation for that, to take care of that, but what we do have is Earl Bradshaw, which takes care of really poor kids. And there are so many more kids. The one thing we could do for Earl Bradshaw is expand it. Now, my understanding is that one hallway of Earl Bradshaw is Head Start, federally funded. They have, probably not enough money, but they have some resources. The other hall is the pre-K program funded by the state and the county. And my understanding is that doesn't have the same resources as the kids on the federally funded hallway. So the needs are beyond learning your alphabet. They're beyond learning how to stand in a straight line. The needs are so profound that it would take a whole evening to discuss those. But it benefits all of us to have as many kids ready for kindergarten at the same time. If there are kids behind, it challenges our own kids that are not behind. So we want everybody, out of just fairness for our community, to be ready to hit kindergarten, ready to go. So it's a great place.
Ms. J.
I am so proud to hear so many educators talk about the developments that's happening in schools and the chances students are given to learn. I think it's wonderful. I want to give you a hand. I think it's wonderful of you to say that. I have never worked in this school system like that. I think it's wonderful. But I really think what needs to be enhanced is the student-family relationship. I think the family needs to be in on it. They need to know what the student has done that day. They have to show interest in the student. Okay, the teacher has the student 5 days a week, maybe 6 hours a day. The parent has the student the rest of the week. They need to show interest in the students. Let them know that you care. And if you let them know that you care, they will never lose the desire to continue education. Yes, you have to teach a child when they're very young the value of an education so they will continue up into junior school and high school and farther on to have them give them a chance for a better education. I am concerned with the child that drops out of school between middle school and high school and don't get an education. They need to keep interest. And some of the responsibility, a whole lot of the responsibility, belongs to the community and the family. And the church is a very important part. They can encourage the child to continue in school, and I try to do that. I really do. I hope I am an example for the people in my church, the students in my church, to continue school. Like I said, why not? You need to do it. Thank you.
Mr. Sims.
First of all, you're not going to have to worry about the 2 minutes with me. I'm short and sweet with this. But first of all, I think the staff has done an outstanding job working with these underprivileged kids, getting them ready for public school. And the school has done a great job in closing the achievement gap with the Person County school system. So if you're asking the question as far as the gap between Person County schools and the impact, I think it has been a positive impact. Thank you.
And Ms. Lopez.
Volunteering with or listening to a presentation by organizations such as the Partnership for Children, or studying childhood development, early childhood education, or related fields of study tells us that the preschool years are the formative years for a child's reading skills and thus learning potential. In order for children to learn in school and keep up with their peers and achievement standards, they must be able to read at or above grade level. Sadly, not every child in this county is fortunate enough to have stay-at-home parents who can sit down with them and give them the regular one-on-one attention required to establish good foundational skills in reading comprehension and good reading habits for life. That is why we need preschool programs and community programs to help bridge that achievement gap. As with any endeavor in life, if you start out behind, you'll have difficulty catching up. Helping to make sure that our students don't start out behind is critical to their future success. The early intervention program in the school system, in cooperation with Earl Bradger Preschool, has also been a major step in closing this achievement gap for children with special needs. By putting these children in a classroom setting before they start school with smaller groups of similarly abled children and specialized teachers, connecting parents and students with a variety of resources, this program has helped many of our students, including my little brother, to identify the strengths, weaknesses, and techniques for both, which will help them succeed in school and in life. All in all, the widespread positive impact of Earl Bradger Preschool and its partner programs on closing the achievement gap in our school system is evidenced by the students who go through the program, entering the school system with a more equal footing and a stronger foundation than they had before, giving them a better opportunity to achieve their full potential.
Thank you. Did everybody get a chance to answer that question? Okay. With time being a little bit of an issue, we're going to try to combine the final two questions. So just keep it as quick as you can. We don't want to keep you guys all night. So the questions that will be answered are, in light of the recent school shooting at Townsville Elementary, do you feel that all schools in Person County, not only the middle and high schools, should staff a school resource officer? And then you will answer, what would be done to help teachers and administrators address students with mental health disorders in Person County? We'll go in the same order, starting with Ms. Bratcher, followed by Mr. Gillis and Ms. Tillman.
The safety of our children in Person County is primary, and we cannot cut corners to not pay attention to their safety. That said, school resource officers are expensive, and I hate to continue to look at you and talk about money, but I feel that we have found we've reached a point in funding and education as we have worn more and more hats in education that the state has really failed to uphold their responsibility to fund the needs of public education in North Carolina. We have 5 resource officers in Person County Schools. Person County Schools pays for 2, and the Sheriff's Department pays for 3. Our elementary schools see officers in their buildings through the delivery of programs such as Truth About Drugs, or if an administrator has a need for one to be there, then we will send school resource officers to the elementary schools on a rotating kind of basis. We have offered the Sheriff's Department a satellite office on one of our elementary school campuses. That has not been accepted at this point, but that would be one way of putting officers into those elementary schools. It is also extremely important as we look at this, and I'll segue into the next question, that we offer mental health professionals, guidance counselors, social workers in those locations in the elementary schools that would also offer an environment that is a safer environment for our children. We are really lucky in Person County to have some dedicated community partners such as Freedom House and 7 Challenges and Roots and Wings to help with our mental health issues. Mental health is a huge issue in Person County Schools as it is in our community. This need in our community as well as our schools, such as we need things such as a day treatment program. Children who need those services often have to go to Durham or Chapel Hill to receive those services. We not only need to help our teachers and our administrators, we need to find ways to help our community members deal with mental health. Our faith-based organizations join in our efforts to help our young people that might be experimenting with addiction, who might be experiencing anxiety, depression, eating disorders. Those are just some of the mental health issues that our children face. There are programs to train the everyday citizen in how to mentor and help other everyday citizens who are facing these issues. Being reactive to these issues is almost always an ineffective pathway. It brings stress to families, stress to our communities. Changing lives requires that we be proactive. I recently experienced being a member of a community health assessment at Person Memorial Hospital that reported a real shocking number of negative behaviors in Person County, as well as health issues. Our hospital and our health department are addressing ways to improve this community, including mental health services, and we are grateful beyond words for their help. This is a severe need. It is one that all of us need to address, whether it be in the schools or in the communities. And we would certainly encourage input from citizens who can offer us pathways to helping our children and our adults in our community be more productive.
Thank you, Ms. Bratcher. Mr. Gillis?
I'm going to be honest, when I opened up the email and I saw this question about the school shootings, it bothered me, as it should bother anybody. But I have 2 children sitting at North End. I don't want to think about stuff like that. I spend enough time worrying about my children as it is. And to read that and to make me think about it, of course our reaction is yes, we need them in elementary schools. But to give you an idea, because when we say we need an SRO, you're thinking about a person who is policing the grounds, watching out for intruders and stuff. That's not what an SRO officer does. That is part of it. To give you an idea, the SRO officer that I talked to, he works at PCLA, RCS, Helena North. He works with the GREAT, which is Gang Resistance Education and Training, and he works with the Truth About Drugs. So he is an educator as well. He has his normal duties, working with such as court, arrest, color guard, speaking at churches, fingerprinting, different committees around the community. He works with the Code 300 boxes and assisting in drills at the school. He's at the ball games and he's walking the halls. He does all those jobs. He's not just protecting the children at all times, because just like everyone else in education, he's spread a little thin. It is a common theme with everything dealing with education, even going to the SRO officer. The SRO officers are just as important there as the teachers, as the rest of the staff. So my answer is yes. But like Ms. Bratcher, I have to question, where does the funding come from? And that's where everything's going to come down to. Going into the second one, dealing, how do you address students with mental health disorders? That's an ugly one, because we don't want to address it. We just want to forget about it and hope nothing happens. We sit and wonder what would happen if this takes place, but we don't want to think about it. Oftentimes the children who have these issues don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk to their parents about it. They don't want to talk to their teachers about it, and sometimes they do. And you've got to hope that you've got a person in that classroom who knows what to say in that moment at that time. We say we want them to go to the counselors. That's a nice thought, but we know, just like the SRO, just like the teacher, just like everybody else, they're stretched thin. The counselors are worrying about scheduling. They're worrying about college applications. They're worrying about different aspects of it, as well as counseling. So that's not their only duty as well. You've got everybody stretched about as thin as they can be stretched in North Carolina right now. So that goes for SRO officers, that goes with dealing with mental health disorders with the students, that deals with the counselors. So I guess, once again, being an educator, where do we look? We look to our communities. We look to our families. We look at getting our families involved. As I say with Earl Bratcher, you've got to start early. You look at the families early, you work their way up. You start at the communities early, you work their way up, and you go from there. Because I don't know, there's going to be some funding for school, and in election year there's going to be more funding, but we know the funding is not going to be there all the time, because it's a tough profession. You get involved in education, you have to do the best you can in what you're provided. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gillis. Ms. Tillman?
As you are aware, and you've heard that you are aware of the fact that we do have 5 SROs in Person County school system, in the middle schools, high school, and PCLA. The school system provides for the salary for 2, and then the Person County Sheriff Department provides salary for 3 of them. And again, it goes back to the funding. Each school, which includes elementary schools, has implemented physical security plans needed to protect the safety and the welfare of all of our students. The presence of SRO in elementary schools are very much needed, and they're very beneficial. But again, we had to go back to funding. When we receive money from the state and local level, we had to look at our needs, our priorities of our students, but yes, we do put safety first. So we've had some ideas, we had some input into this, and we have asked, just as Margaret talked about, having a police substation at some of the elementary schools that will help eliminate some of those worries from parents, because we want you, parents in this school system, to be rest assured that their child is safe and they are being looked after. Now, mental health is an overall health issue. Early identification and intervention is very, very crucial. The outcome proves improvement in areas that are significant, that shows a reduction in retention, suspension, attendance, and improved test scores. Now, as an elementary teacher, I do rely on the fact that we do have school counselors. And on the elementary level, I think they're a little bit different from what they do at the middle school and high school level. So they are there for the teachers and students. So we do have that resource. There are other agencies that we have partnership with in place for to meet the needs of these mental health disorders in our district. We have Roots and Wing, which is a wonderful organization, 7 Challenges, and Freedom House Recovery Center, which provides behavioral health care for children and adults in the mental health department. Again, as I said, I want to be an advocate for the community as well, and I want the community to be involved in all these different activities of the school system. And one of those things is being able to be there for our students through churches, other organizations. I'm a member organization that is very involved with the schools, with the children of Person County. And I'd just like to encourage all of these organizations, including the Jaycees, to be involved in the school system. And thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Tillman. Dr. Allen, who will be followed by Ms. Tillett and Mr. Atkins.
I think one of the worst nightmares that anybody in the school system has is the thought of an active shooter on a school campus. I know anytime I heard about one, I would always go back and review what we were doing in terms of our lockdown drills and, make sure that we were doing everything we could to keep our children safe. When I was at Helena, and I'm not sure if this has changed since my retirement, but we did have an SRO assigned to us, and we had an excellent one. He was available whenever we needed him. He would come out. He would do things like help us with juvenile petitions. He would discuss school safety with both me and my staff. And if we had a child that was really having some issues and we were afraid we're going to become legally involved, he would talk to them and try to help them out as well. He also came out whenever we had a lockdown drill to go through the process and to watch things to see if he saw anything. And he even made an arrangement for the Person County Sheriff's Department for their, I guess it's called their first response team, sort of like their SWAT team, to come out when we were doing a lockdown to observe what we were doing. I can see some definite advantages to having an SRO. One has already been mentioned. We do have some of our schools near high-risk neighborhoods, and it would be helpful to have police presence there. And several of our elementary schools are very isolated. I know when I was at Helena, you are sort of back at the end of this road and there's nobody else around you. It would be helpful to have an officer who could intervene in situations, and I was really thinking about, this ties in with the mental health, because we had parents who were very out of control, and they would come into the building angry, and you had to have somebody who could help diffuse that situation. We also had parents who would come in under the influence, and that was another situation that we had to handle, and having an officer there would help that. I think probably one of the biggest benefits would be exposing their children to police officers at an early age, and I think this could have a very positive relationship and help to build trust between our children and the police, and that could carry over into their families and their communities. The final note on that, the last thing as a principal I would have wanted was my teachers trained and have weapons on campus. That scared the bejeebers out of me when somebody suggested that one. In terms of mental health, they've closed a lot of our mental health facilities, which means they've gone to much more of a community-based mental health program, and we're seeing a lot of kids in schools for various reasons with mental health issues. School staff are expected to manage these kids in a classroom with 23 other so-called normal children. I think the answer to that has to be that every administrator, every teacher assistant, any adult on campus has to be trained to work with children who have mental health issues. With my background in special education, I had more training in that area, but it was still hard to deal with some of these children. And I've also said for you, every teacher education candidate needs to have a class in exceptional children. You also need staff members on campus who have had training in restraint techniques. It's very easy to escalate a situation when you don't have training in how to control the situation and talk that person down. And you also have to plan for the safety of the other children. While you're dealing with one, you've got 22 others who are at risk. And we always tried to have a plan in place for any child that we knew that had mental issues or these meltdowns. But there's always one that would surprise you, and it would come out of left field, and you didn't know the child was having issues. And finally, we also tried to make sure that we were aware which of our parents had substance abuse or mental health issues and monitor them closely when they were on campus as to why they were there and what they were doing while they were there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. Ms. Tillett?
All of our Person County schools, including elementary and preschool locations, have multiple layers of security already in place. Each school is locked down at all times. Visitors must be buzzed in and are required to sign in at the office. Lockdown procedures are in place and are reviewed and practiced annually. In the event of the Townsville Elementary School shooting, the incident occurred on the playground rather than inside the school building where all of these safety procedures are in place. Could the presence of an SRO have prevented the shooting? Maybe, but only if he or she had been on the playground at that particular spot at that particular time. As principal at Southern Middle School, having an SRO was invaluable to me. At the same time, we never hesitated to send him to assist at other locations when the need arose. We want to keep all of our children safe all of the time. If having an SRO at every school would accomplish that, I would be the first to advocate for that. The truth is that as great as our efforts are, and those at Townsville Elementary, we cannot assure that to be true, which leads into the issue of mental health. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the suffering of children with mental health needs has created a health crisis in this country. In addressing this crisis, as others have said too, it truly does take a village of everyone working together. We first need to capitalize on the expertise that is already in place in our schools, in our guidance counselors, social workers, school nurses, child and family service teams. They can be a tremendous resource in identifying needs and getting parents in contact with the mental health professionals that are in our community. And in our community, we do have valuable resources through Roots and Wings, through Person County Health Department, and the Department of Social Services. The first line, however, is with the teachers who work most closely with their students on a daily basis. While most are aware of the signs of mental health disorders, those signs can mask themselves. A continuing plan of professional development for our teachers and administrators is crucial for addressing the issue, but should not stop there. We need to provide information and assistance for parents as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tillett. Mr. Atkins. Following Mr. Atkins will be Mr. Cantor and Ms. Hodges.
Regarding SROs, I do not believe that we should have a full-time SRO in every school in our county. And my reasoning behind that is because I have 2 kids in our schools, and I have never felt like there was any concern with safety in our schools. Because every time I go there, and some people have already outlined this, but you have to buzz in, through a system. The school's completely locked. They have a video screen where they can see you, the person that's out there. Once you're buzzed in, you have to sign in. The school classrooms are locked. So it is a pretty secure environment that our kids are in. So that gives me confidence that we are doing what we should do from that standpoint. So those safety measures are already there. They also practice lockdown procedures. They're even practicing those things at Earl Bratcher. So these things are being practiced from the time our kids are really, really, really small. And I think those are all very helpful things. And echoing other people, the resources just really aren't there, I don't think, to have SROs at every school. Moving on to the second topic, which was students with mental health disorders. I think one thing that we definitely need to do, and someone's already mentioned this, is that we need to have our teachers trained and our administrators trained to recognize the symptoms of mental health disorders, the things that are there that somebody should be seeing. And when they do recognize those things, to communicate that information to administrators, to parents, and to allow those parents to know that there's a need here, that there needs to be some kind of intervention. If those parents aren't able to help that kid get that intervention that's necessary or that help that's necessary, I think we need to pull on some of our resources. I'm on the Board of Health there in this county, and I know our health department could offer us some great resources in mental health. Maybe we need to explore that. If we have those kids there, instead of funding other positions that we don't have money for, maybe we can use the resources that are already there, which in our county right now is our health department, and that is available. And I think we should use those resources more effectively. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Mr. Cantor?
Let me start by just saying special thanks to Dewey Jones. I know firsthand that he could not have found better SROs to be at our high schools and middle schools, or high school and middle schools. They're fantastic. Their concern, their care and concern they show for our students while maintaining a sense of peace in our school is so great that words just can't express it. But I do feel like the need for the elementary school level to have SROs is basically just putting a burden on the Sheriff's Department's funds for that what-if moment. The response time of our law enforcement and emergency personnel within the city and county are second to none. And I feel our school district, basically reiterating what everyone else said, the lock mechanisms, the cameras, and the staff member having to buzz you in is key. And I think that they've placed the safety for the students and faculty already in place. It just needs to be continued and moved forward. The plans that they have for doing the code 300s and the different drills that they do are instrumental in basically letting our staff know, letting the faculty and the students know exactly what to do in those crisis situations, when moments, we do it for fire drills, so it works. What they've done is already working. Why reinvent the wheel? As far as basically advocating for the emergency service managements to state levels to help them with their fundings, I believe in not advocating for just myself, but other departments as well that could advocate for their funding so that when they do come over, they do more training. They are able to do it more than once and twice a year to come through and go through. But I really want to touch on the very best question that I really thought. And it was my favorite question, was the last one, and because it kind of guides me into what I really want to talk about, and that's software. Basically, new software in our district would help and better help our teachers, our students, our faculty, and to answer your question, our guidance counselors. But let me elaborate, but not too long, to truly help of monitoring and flagging software to help our schools consider a time when instead of being reactive, we could be placed in a position where we were proactive. The monitoring software available now would help our students learn, teachers teach, and administrators and counselors guide our students in the right direction. We have amazing counselors in our schools. So imagine if they didn't have to play that perfect detective to find the student in need. Instead, we equipped them with a GPS of sort that can place the student and the counselor on the same street instead of searching for each other. As a person who has lost his best friend to teen suicide, I can tell you firsthand that the importance of every life. I know to this day that I wonder quite often how my life would be different had things been different, not just how his life would have turned out. I grew up without my best friend, and if a counselor would have known and been aware of the road he was on, then many lives would have been changed and made better. The software already is out there and ready to be placed, but it does mean funding and finding the resources to pay for it. But if you consider what is in our school budget to help our students, this could be one of those that helps the whole system. This software could benefit student, teachers, administrators, counselors, and even our community. This is the ultimate for the majority expenditure I could think to acquire. I hope that you will help me work towards acquiring it So remember to select Dennis Cantor for Board of Education. You're helping your students, teachers, faculties, and your community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cantor. Ms. Hodges?
These are great questions. But my first thought about the SROs at the elementary schools would be this. I mean, I agree with everything they've said. The procedures are in place. Would it work? Would it be, efficacious to have a SRO at each elementary school? But I think to properly answer the question, and the way I would hope the school board moves forward with answering tough questions like this, is you'd have to go to the principals of the schools, of the elementary schools, and say, what do you need? Because the schools have different needs. There may be one school that says, we're good. It's just not something we see in this, and another school might be different. But the best people, I think, to answer the question is, if there's a need, would be the principals. Then the school board would figure out, how do we meet that need? With regard to mental health, oh my goodness, I have seen depression, panic attacks. The whole issue with panic attacks is huge at the high school. Anger, which is really often a sign of depression. Lots of the eating disorder. But really, it's mostly, I think, seems the one I see the most is just this depression, which then, exhibits itself in different ways. So definitely, we need training. We need to train the teachers how to take a difficult situation and de-escalate it so that it doesn't whip itself into a much worse situation. I think all the teachers would love that kind of professional development. How do we help this child and de-escalate the situation in a way that's fact-based? Let's don't just draw upon how we were raised or what we do at home. How do professionals help a child who is depressed and spiraling out of control? I think that this is a crazy idea. I just swear I think it might work. The counselors at the high school do not have time to be therapists. Their time is taken with other important things, but they just don't have that time to be a therapist. Could we not have therapists, have a psychiatrist at the school and then bill insurance? I don't know if that could work, but why aren't we not look into it? Because I'm thinking we could make some money because there's so much need. I mean, if a teacher could say, and I have said, but there's no resources to handle. I mean, I've said this child is depressed. I mean, he's clearly depressed. That's why he's failing. This girl is having panic attacks. That's why she's missing class every day. We need a place to send the kids right now during the school day. Yes, we need community support, but what do you do in that one moment? So, I mean, if we used to have some social work type people at the high school. I think the funding went away for it. They worked their tails off. And we need them back. So, there you go.
Thank you, Ms. Hodges. Ms. J, and following Ms. J will be Mr. Sims and Ms. Lopez.
Well, a lot of the people that have spoke today, just about said the things I wanted to say. Like the schools are very safe. I went to visit a school not long ago. I was locked out. I had to ring a bell to get in, and then they had to know what I was doing there and all that. Very, very good safety issues are being taken care of. And this person you're talking about, the resource officer, I think it depends upon the school whether that person is hired for that. Has less, like I said, has a lot to do with the school. And another thing about mental health. When I was growing up, people did not talk about mental health. It was a secret. Well, now everybody recognizes the fact that there are mental health issues everywhere. In the school, yes, I think it should be looked into, yes. Catch it early, and you could save a child's life, yes. And like they say, you need people to recognize that, because anger is a terrible thing. You know that usually when a person is angry and they come out with it, they're gonna hurt somebody. People need to be told, children need to be taught that when you get angry, you need to step back and think. But children are not going to do that. They're not adults. But that's what anger causes a lot of trouble, yes. Like I said, mental health is very prevalent, but is recognized now, when it used to be a hidden thing. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. J. Mr. Sims.
First of all, being environmental health and safety manager, safety is very important to me. And so I would support putting school resource officers in every school. But putting resource officers in every school would be very expensive. And if we're being realistic about it, I don't think we will have the funds to do that. And so we have a lot of things in procedures that are in place at our schools that are certainly going to help prevent an activity happening there where someone can come in and hurt our kids. So certainly I would hope someday that we can have a resource officer in every school, but I certainly don't see it happening now with the funds. With mental health, I believe we need to listen to our teachers' needs and give them the resources they need to work with the students. It may mean giving them some resources to have more one-on-one time with the student. It may mean more funding for their resources. And again, where are we going to get that funding? So as I end this, certainly mental health is an important issue in our schools, and we certainly need to look at the funding and where we can get that funding to help that situation. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Ms. Lopez.
It's sad that we have to worry about our teachers and students being the targets of violence in our schools. Although the presence of an SRO is not guaranteed to prevent such attacks, we should take any reasonable precaution that is in our power to ensure the safety of our students, teachers, visitors, and staff. SROs sometimes find weapons in students' possession when they do random searches. Now, most of the time, these are little pocket knives or things that they might have forgotten in their car or in their bag. But if a student brings a weapon to school with the intention of harming anyone, having SROs present and doing those random searches of lockers and bags greatly increases the likelihood that they will find these weapons and prevent violence before it occurs. As for the funding, since our schools are now sharing music teachers on a rotating basis for funding, we can do something similar with SROs to make sure that at least part-time there are SROs at any given school. As for mental health, first of all, we need to ensure that our school counselors' jobs are provided for in the budget, as they are a valuable resource and one of the first avenues of recourse for mental health for our students. The biggest problem with mental health services in this country, which deters people from seeking help when they need it most, is the stigma. We can make sure our teachers and staff are trained to recognize that mental health disorders are medical issues and make sure that students' concerns are validated and respected. We also need to teach our students to treat mental health concerns in this way. This training for our teachers will not take any additional time or resources, as our school counselors can provide it on an already scheduled professional development day, such as on an early release day. We should incorporate this aspect of mental health into our health curriculum as well, to make it personal to our students and to drive the point home. Addressing mental health in this way will increase students' understanding of mental health as part of overall health. This will help to decrease the stigma and increase the likelihood that instead of resorting to desperate measures, a student in need will seek help. When I was at Helena Elementary School, our guidance counselor, Mrs. Miller, would come to each classroom once a month to talk to us a little bit about these issues, tell us how we can reach her, and give away a candy bar at the end. It was a pleasant experience, and it made us all aware of the counseling available to us. Establishing this awareness at an early age helps students to understand it is a normal part of life. This is what our counselors are there for, to help with this important but often ignored aspect of our students' development. My counselor at Southern Middle School, Miss Olk, gave me advice on how to handle confrontational bullies and de-escalate the situation. She had a profoundly positive impact on me at a time when I was finding myself. In senior year of high school, there's a scholars banquet to which you get to invite a teacher who made an impact on your life. Although there were multiple teachers whom I could have chosen, I chose Miss Olk. This is what our counselors are there for, to help our students. Presenting mental health as something that you not just think about when you have a problem, but rather as a normal part of taking care of yourself and health in general is important to ensuring our students' success and preparing them to handle the stresses they will encounter in school and in life. Making sure that we make time for mental health awareness in our schools, keep counseling services available to our students, and teach mental health as a legitimate, normal, and essential part of overall health is vital to ensuring our students know that it is okay to need help and are comfortable in seeking it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Have I missed anybody tonight? I want to thank the members of the community who have come tonight to listen to the platforms of each of these candidates. I want to thank Dave Bratcher for being here to broadcast this so that we can equip the members of our community with the knowledge so that they can make the best choice possible in November. I also want to thank the members of the Jaycees who are here tonight: Brent, Jason Thomas, Sam Martin, Nigel Wilson, Will Stevens, Haley Duncan, and Leslie Wilson. Please know, candidates, that this organization will pray for you through this election process and pray that you will make the best decisions for this community and the people in it. We wish you the best of luck in November, and thank you for being here tonight.